Hello and welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I got to talk with the Raleigh band Thirsty Curses. Without any further ado, here's the interview. So I think we should go ahead and start at the beginning. So each of you, probably starting with Wilson, how did you guys get into music?
When I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, I was listening to like top 40 radio, and my brother, who's about 9 years older than me, took it upon himself to give me like a musical education and gave me each birthday and Christmas for several years, like 5 CDs from each decade that were sort of like the best critically acclaimed and, of each decade or whatever. And that sort of led to me getting into music as a consumer, and it was just like, I want to be able to do it. And so I started playing drums around the age of 13, and then progressed to guitar and other instruments, and just, I guess I had gotten really into the Beatles at one point and really just loved their songwriting and sort of wanted to become a good songwriter and sort of made it a big goal of mine in life, I guess.
Heard that. Well, Kelly, how about you?
I come from a pretty tiny town in northwestern Virginia. I'd never had much of musical aptitude, but I did have a guitar class that I was in high school that I was terrible at. I mean, I just could not do anything worthwhile with the guitar in my hands at any point, and came very close to giving it up, and then was grounded for 9 months by my mom for forging my report cards. And the time that I was not allowed to go outside or see people, I played a lot more guitar, got a lot better, and then just went on from there in various stages of isolation, self-imposed and otherwise.
I know you have a brother that's also involved in music and everything. Did he kind of influence you going into music, or did he kind of follow after you?
Yeah, I have actually got 2 brothers, both of whom are very passionate about music. We grew up in a house of about 5 kids, so we were always looking for ways to set each other apart, and we figured what better way than to everyone do the exact same thing. Both brothers were kind of doing their own thing at the time, and it was just something that, if they were out, with their friends or something like that, I would stay inside and use their music equipment to try to get better myself.
Awesome. Well, Phil, last but not least, how did you get into music, man?
I hated school, and in 4th grade, the music teacher, Mr. Takeuchi from the junior high school, came around, Mr. T, we called him, and gave a talk to my 4th grade class and said, if you're in band, you get out of class for an hour a week. That's what I heard. So I took up saxophone because I wanted to be the guy on the Bruce Springsteen wraparound cover from Born to Run, who was Clarence Clemens, and I thought he was the coolest guy I'd ever seen. So I said, what instrument does he play? And they gave me a tenor sax, and I was terrible at it. And then fate, in the form of my friend Evan Dumas, said, dude, play drums, it's easy. And never looked back.
Heard that. Well, I guess next, now that we've heard kind of how you guys got into music, I guess probably the next logical step is how did you meet each other, and how exactly did Thirsty Curses form? Wilson, I guess we start with you again.
Yeah, Kelly and I met through one of his brothers, actually, who I'd played some music with on one occasion, and actually went to a party at one of his brother's houses, and Kelly was there, and we sort of hit it off and started hanging out. Shortly thereafter, too, he needed a spot to live, so he moved in, and we became roommates, and I kind of had a fledgling band project at the time that he joined up with and later became Thirsty Curses. Phil, we played in an earlier formation of Thirsty Curses. There used to be an older drummer. Phil had played with another band, Bobby's Fever, I think, that we were playing a show with. And when the previous drummer left the band, Phil had reached out saying he was interested in joining the group, and so it kind of went from there. And Clay, who's not here, is actually like a childhood friend of mine. He and I played like Little League baseball together and stuff. I've known him since I was like 10.
Also, this is probably a really interesting one that most people want to know. Anybody that's heard the Thirsty Curses music knows that You guys have a really awesome blend of like all these kinds of different genres. Like specifically, the first one that comes to mind is like kind of like alternative mixed with Americana, mixed with a little folk, and even some like country. I don't know. How would you guys describe your sound? I know
schizophrenic,
Eclectic.
Yeah, I mean eclectic and schizophrenic. I mean,
or like for somebody that's never heard your music, how would you tell them that? Like, how do you guys sound?
yeah, I mean, I'd say like it's a cross between. I guess the easiest way to describe sound is to reference other bands that people may know. But yeah, there's like some old 97s in there. Deer Tick is a band I draw a lot of influence from. Jeff Rosenstock, who had a band called Bomb the Music Industry as well. The Beatles, who I mentioned earlier.
Hold Steady.
Hold Steady, Modest Mouse. So, you know, I mean, I guess just kind of draw off the things I listen to, and I, at least within indie rock and roll, I have kind of an eclectic taste, so just kind of draw from that.
Heard that. Well, kind of keeping on the form of like about your music and all. Wilson, you have a really interesting way of writing lyrics. Like it's very honest and very kind of story-like, and there's a lot of kind of different influences I can kind of hear in there. But I don't know. Do you guys sit down and write together, or is it more so like each of you kind of come in with your little individual things? And we'll get more into your songwriting right after this. But I'm just curious as far as the music goes. Like, is that more of an individual or more of a group process?
I'd say most of the time it's pretty individual. I guess I'm the primary songwriter for the band. There's been some instances where Kelly and I specifically have collaborated. We have a song called Dim Lit Cathedral that he wrote the main riff of the song. And this was actually when we were living together too. We kind of just played around with it and ended up building a full song out of it. And there's been some other tunes like that where he and I have collaborated. But for the most part, I guess I do most of the songwriting, and I do it individually. I guess I tend to liken it to I bring a skeleton to the band, and the band kind of helps put meat on the bones.
I like it. Do you have like a process that you go through, like when you write, or are you just kind of like you just sit down eating one day and you just have an idea and pops in? I don't know if you have like a set thing that you do that you kind of have to try to formulate to, or is it just kind of like you just do it whenever?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's much of a set thing. It just kind of comes when it comes. You know, a lot of times it's writing songs is kind of a way of just, it's therapeutic for me, dealing with things that are going on in my life. So a lot of times that'll even be the impetus, you know, something good or bad may have happened on a given day or a given week, and it sort of inspires a song. And yeah, I mean, or just sometimes there's like funny things that have happened, or yeah. I mean, I definitely draw from sort of my experiences in real life and go from there. But yeah, I mean, I guess it differs from time to time. I mean, there's some times where I write music first and then add lyrics in, and then there's some times where I write lyrics first and then add music in on afterwards. So it kind of goes either way.
Awesome. I think now, since we kind of talked about y'all's background, how everybody met, and kind of the sound in and of itself, I think we should probably talk about some of y'all's albums. So, like the
Sounds
first EP, can you describe kind of like what it was like trying to record that? How did you put it out? And just how was that first album kind of formulated and recorded?
Yeah, we had not been together very long at that time. I think we recorded it in November 2016 at a studio in Raleigh, and I can't even remember the name of the studio, do you? It was on like...
Oh, no.
It was off of like Peace Street, but...
was it Flying Tiger?
I really don't
I know there's a studio called Flying Tiger in Raleigh. I don't think it's on Peace Street, though.
Yeah, it's like right in that warehouse district, kind of off by Glenwood or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the name of the studio. But it was a very small room, and we actually, our drummer at the time knew, he was friends with an engineer that worked there, and we kind of went in there under the understanding that we were going to kind of get cut a deal. It didn't really end up being that way. But
isn't that how it always works, man?
A little bit.
Yeah, but that one was definitely sort of more of a rush process. We had like 2 days booked in the studio, and we went in and just kind of hammered out as much as we could.
I think I'd been playing with the band for like a month and a half.
Yeah. And then I think we came back 1 day later, and we had the same guy who recorded it. His name was Tooch. Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh.
No, you should laugh. It's a
really
stupid name.
It's a real interesting name.
I didn't care much for him.
It's a family name.
Yeah, I mean, he was It was all right. We had some issues with the recording, but at the end of the day, it all worked out, I guess, for the most part. But yeah, I mean, we finished that up in like December of 2016 and released it on Valentine's Day, actually, in 2017.
That's right, we did.
Oh, cool. That's the one with Stonewashed 80s jeans on it, doesn't it?
Actually, no, that was a single we did later. I guess that's that year in 2017. It was like a home recording, actually. The process for recording Holy Moly was it was pretty quick, and like I think I learned from that experience for the next time when we recorded in a studio to sort of go in a lot more prepared, because we definitely just kind of went in there and like we've been practicing a lot, but you know, the next time we recorded, we did a lot of like preparing. Yeah, we recorded everything at home first, basically. Whereas on that first recording, we just kind of went in and
just hammered it out.
Yeah,
and that's actually the next thing I wanted to ask you guys, because your next album was actually recorded in Kernersville with Mr. Mitch Easter. And if you don't know who Mitch Easter is, why don't you tell everybody, who is Mitch Easter?
He's sort of a legend in North Carolina. He produced a lot of REM's early, or produced and engineered a lot of REM's early stuff. I think that kind of put him on the map. He had a studio back then, I think in his parents' garage, that was called like Drive-In Studios. But yeah, so I mean, Fiddleatorium is up in Kernersville, and like he does really good rates for local musicians, and there's actually like a guest house there you can stay at.
That's why he gets so much business, because he gives that guest house.
Well, I think it helps, because went up there for 4 days. I think we got there on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and for All Shook Up, we'd recorded everything at home first, and then kind of we knew exactly what we were doing on everything, and like even with 4 days, we didn't finish everything, but you know, actually Mitch was nice enough to like lend me one of his awesome studio vocal mics, and I was able to like finish vocals at home and stuff like that.
Was that stuff recorded live, by the way? I'm just curious.
The All Shook Up?
Yeah.
No, we tracked it. Like
did you overdubs and everything?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I was curious, because you said 4 days. That's a lot to do for like, what was it, like 12 songs on that?
Yeah, there were. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we were prepared, and like we were able to really crank out everything on very few takes. And the only thing we really didn't finish up were like vocals and background vocals that we did later at my house. But yeah.
Heard that. Well, I guess next is kind of like, we've talked a little bit about Mitch Easter, but just on a personal level, what was it like working with him? Were you guys intimidated, or were you guys like, was it really laid back, or?
Yeah, I was at first, but after about 5 minutes, he's like super down to earth, and yeah, I mean, by the end of it, we were like cracking jokes. He had like all these funny stories about bands that had come and recorded there, and like just like funny things that had happened and stuff. And we were like by the end all cracking jokes together and stuff. He was really easy to get along with. But yeah, maybe like the first, seriously, like 5-10 minutes. But then I was like, this guy's pretty cool. He's not gonna, so yeah, it was easy peasy on that front.
My favorite story he has is he said there was a band that came in recently that asked for 14 mics on their guitar amp because they had so much equipment, and he used one mic, and he just convinced the band that he used all 14, and he got the sound, and it was like the $100 SM57 mic. and they were like, this is amazing. They like $15,000 worth of microphones on it. He uses the one mic up there. I just thought that was hilarious.
It is. He had this story he told us about, I guess Pavement had come in there and recorded something, and that after like one of their days, they were like, well, where's somewhere we can go around here to drink? And so he and Pavement went to some bar in Kernersville, and the main point of the story was there was like a rodeo clown at the bar by himself drinking, who like seemed to be tearing up at times, and like when Mitch told us that, we all was like, bah! It was just like a rodeo clown at a bar by himself, kind of in tears drinking.
That's an album cover.
That's a song.
That is a song.
Definite lyric.
So you guys have a new album coming out pretty soon. I believe it's November 8th is when it's coming out, right?
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. So having recorded a few albums before this, what was the process of recording this one like? I think you guys recorded it yourselves, right?
We did. So this was the first one. We'd done as we mentioned earlier, there was a single we'd done before that we recorded at home. But yeah, this was the first time we'd done a whole album. And we recorded it at my house to kind of have a studio space set up in the upstairs of my house.
It's probably a generous evaluation for that particular space.
Well, it's good though. It's got a couple rooms sectioned off, so you kind of have a control room and a main room. But yeah, we tracked it at my house, and we kind of did it over the course of, I don't know, 2 weeks in June, and yeah, and then we outsourced it for mixing and mastering, but we did all the engineering at my house.
Yeah, right now it's we're at the point where like he's worked with Mitch, and we had that experience initially with that recording studio in Raleigh. The problem that you run into when you're at the level that we're at is you're always working against some sort of clock when it comes to like how much money you have to devote to something. And Wilson and I have gotten to the point where we've got equipment and a little bit of know-how to like get a decent quality recording ourselves, but it's also really important to always be mindful of like the things that you're maybe not the best at. So that's why we outsource the mixing and mastering to a guy down in Austin that we like a lot, and we think he did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So this is actually the first album you guys had on the label. So what was the process of recording with the label? I don't know if they were kind of trying to get into the recording process, or were they just more on the back end? I don't know. How was that?
Yeah, no, we signed with Spectre Music Group in May, and yeah, they didn't really have much to do on the front end. They did kind of give us a deadline of when they wanted something by, so it was different in that sense in that we had to crank it out in sort of a short amount of time, and I think it was the first time I've ever really done an album with any kind of deadline, because everything else I've ever released in this band or any previous bands, it's always been just kind of whenever I wanted it to be done. So that was kind of different.
It was beneficial in that aspect, because the one thing that you run into problems with when you're not working in a studio environment is you have as much time as you need, which means you have as much time as
you can procrastinate.
You need, and like things kind of tend to lose track. I mean, at least with that deadline of being in the studio, you can't waste any time whatsoever.
So what's next for you guys? Like, are you guys planning anything after the album comes out, like a tour, or you guys already starting the next recording process, or?
Yeah, we have a bunch of shows coming up, and we're hoping to do some touring in the new year as well. But yeah, we're doing a record release show in Raleigh at School Kids Records on November 8th. It's Friday, 7 p.m. And then that Sunday, we're playing in Greensboro the 10th at Lucky Skate Park with a bunch of other bands. Then the next week, we'll be in Charlotte on November 16th at the Evening Muse. And then at Cat's Cradle in Carborough on the 21st of November. And then we have a show at the Pinhook in Durham on December 8th, I believe. I think that's going to probably take us through for the rest of the year, and then we'll kind of get back at it in the new year.
Well, if people wanted to hear your music or just find out more about you guys, how would they find you? Social media, website, or anything like that?
Well, yeah, as far as listening, we're on all the major download and streaming sites: Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Bandcamp, yada yada. And yeah, our social media is typically like just our name: Facebook.com/ThirstyCurses, Twitter.com/ThirstyCurses. I think the only exception is Instagram, Thirsty_curses. And we have a website also, www.thirstycurses.com. Pretty much if you find a Thirsty Curses in any capacity, that would
Probably
be us.
How did we not get that Instagram handle?
I think someone else already, I don't know.
They have 3 beer bottles, okay? And with the X's on them.
That's right.
That's what got them. Okay, but anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I really hate
Thanks
Clayton
for
couldn't be
having
here.
us, yeah.
No problem. But best regards to Clayton. But before we end, we actually do a movie show here at Studio 67. I actually host it, which is cool because Clayton actually has done some work at a movie theater that I absolutely love, the Alamo Drafthouse. But we do a movie show. I host it, and I ask all my guests before we go, do you guys have a favorite movie? Wilson, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I'll go with The Jerk with Steve Martin.
That's a fantastic choice, by the way.
It's a pretty good one.
Taxi Driver, probably.
Heard.
Yeah.
Around the same era, but completely different films.
Not quite the
so
same
serious?
movie. Yeah.
I know.
Wow, I have a lot of favorite movies, but one of my personal favorites that no one seems to like, or they love it, is Joe versus the Volcano.
Yeah, all 3 good choices. Do you guys know what Clayton's favorite movie is?
I feel like I might
I
actually.
think it's probably the Spice Girls, maybe.
Maybe Godfather would probably
Maybe
be
Godfather?
in there. I know he really does love like a lot of the.
It's big
Martin
he's a big Meryl Streep fan.
I think
he
he's
loves
a fan
Martin
of-
Scorsese films.
He
for
likes
sure.
the greatest film ever made, Zoolander.
No.
That's a
I
wonderful
think that's
choice.
his top one.
Or is that? I guess we'll ask him. I'll text him and ask him, and I'll put his answer here. But I'll go with Zoolander because it's much more fun. And also, I figured out Clayton does not like 35 millimeter projection. He thinks it's
What?
annoying, and he hates to like. Yeah, I know. How could you be a film lover and
Yeah.
not like a film projection? No wonder you didn't show up, Clayton. No, you're probably ashamed. You told me that.
That is downright blasphemous.
Yeah, he said he gets annoyed by the flickering light.
All right, fair enough.
That's all of movies.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, hey, to each their own. But
Hey, we've all got our faults.
That's fair.
Yeah, I know.
We are none of us perfect.
That was why he didn't show up today. He told you guys that, and you just
Yeah.
were willing to bring him here.
Yeah, some kind of lie.
Thanks to Thirsty Cursors for sitting down with us at Studio 67 and talking all about their music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/Studio67NCC, youtube.com/NashComCollege, or you can find us on Instagram at Studio67NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.